Welcome to a MainelyDIY.com video. Hi, so today I am going to make a little gnome, or as my Finnish friend would call it, a Tonttu, or somebody might call it a little troll, but we're going to make one today. And I'm going to start out with a pom-pom for his nose. These are 7mm, and the ones that I had are white, and I want him to have a pink nose, so I am going to color that. And I am just taking a, well, this one's a Cricut marker. I thought I had a watercolor marker, but I'm taking a marker, and I am just going to color it over. And I'm doing this first because I want to let it dry before I do some of my other things. So I'm just kind of coloring it up with a felt pen. Any type pretty much will work. Okay, so I'm happy that I have my little pom-pom here all colored up, and I'm going to set that aside. So now I'm going to take this ball, and it's about 1.25 inches in diameter, and I'm going to take an old shirt that it's a stretchy, velvety type material. This one's black, dark color is best. Something that looks like it's kind of velvety, and I am just going to cut a piece off of this. There we go. Just trimmed a piece out. And then I'm going to take it and I'm going to wrap my ball in it. And I want to get as smooth as I can. That's why it's nice when it's stretchy like that. And then I'm going to take a string. This is some crochet bedspread cotton. Just either a real heavy thread or crochet cotton, something like that, or very fine twine. So again, I'm going to smooth it around, and then I'm going to tie a knot around that. So I have my knot tied around my ball, and so then I am just going to trim off this excess fabric. And my string that I tied it with. Trim it down a little bit more here. So then we have a little ball, and next we're going to design a hat for him. Okay, so if we wrapped it around the middle, about right there, so I'm going to go ahead and clip that off. And this is just some wool looking felt. I'm not sure that it's really wool, but and then I'm just going to kind of cut that off to a point. It's kind of like that. And then I'll wrap it around my head, and I see that I've got it a little bit longer than I want. So it's going to be look something like that. So I'm going to trim off this excess. I'm going to leave a little bit for a seam. And it's not going to go right around the center. It's going to be up a little bit. So, so here I have my hat shape. And I am going to take and I'm going to do a little bit of hand embroidery on the top of that. So I'm going to take a piece of pearl cotton and I'm going to embroidery on this cap. And I'm going to go, right about here. I'm just going to kind of make a snowflake type thing. Might be a little bit primitive, but that is just fine. Probably about like that. Of course, I don't know who saw a red snowflake, but it's nice to have fun with it. So I made that little shape. So now I'm going to take this edge and do a blanket stitch on that. Let me tie off back here, and then so to do a blanket stitch, I'm just going to put my needle in my piece, and then I am going to choose a distance, and I'm going to go from the top down, and I'm going to catch that back loop each time. So I'm going to do that all the way across the edge. So I'm going to come up through my piece about like that, and then I'll come down here, go through, and this is going to give our edge a really nice little touch. So I've got my edge done, and you see my stitches are not even, and that's almost on purpose because it makes it look more hand done. So I'm just going to trim that off, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew my hat together. Now this is the right side, so I am just going to put it like that. I could hand stitch it, but I am going to take it to the machine and stitch it, and I'm going to catch these ends in it when I do that. And I'm actually going to feed this tail underneath there to get more of the hole. So I'm going to stitch right over these tails and catch them in my sewing machine. So I will be back in a couple minutes with that. I'm going to see if I can coax this point out just a little bit more. Yeah, that's a little better. Okay, so then we're going to take our hat and turn our little brim. And I am going to, in the back here where I've had these extra threads, I'm just going to knot them and then trim them off. Okay, so I'll just trim those right off. And I've got just a hair too much felt there, so I'm just going to trim that off as well. My extra thread where I sewed it together. Okay, so we have his little hat, and we're going to kind of stuff that on his head a little bit. We're not going to put it on too tight because we're going to take some fun fur and make him a little beard. So I just need a little bit of this fun fur, maybe an inch to an inch and a half. And when you cut fun fur, you just kind of want to clip the backing because we want this long part of our fur. So if you carefully just kind of clip the backing. Probably little scissors would have been better for this, but that's not what I grabbed. So probably a square about that big. Okay. So I'm pulling off the loose fuzzies. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my hot glue gun out, and I'm going to glue that on there. And I'll put his hat on, down over his beard, and then I'll put his little nose on. Okay. So these little places where I tied my ball together, I actually can put a little bead of hot glue on there to help keep that. And I'm not quite warmed up yet. And I am working on a piece of wax paper to catch any of my drips because I don't want it on my cutting board. So I'm going to put that hot glue right on that knot. Let that go, and then I'm going to put some on the back up near the top of what's going to be his beard. And I'm going to come down maybe a quarter of the way down on him, just something like that. And then I'm going to see how his hat fits over that. Okay. So I didn't quite put that up high enough, so I pulled it off before it set, and I am going to go ahead and re-glue that and glue it up closer to the top here, just like that. There we go. Because my hat needs to cover the edge of my beard, so figure out where the top of that is. I'm going to put a drop of glue right there, and then also on the back side up near the top. And then I'm going to carefully work my hat on there, position the front, and then I'll kind of position the back. And I want to keep that rim. And have my little star in the front. And now I've got that just about where I want it. I'm going to fold this down just on the back and just put a little bit of hot glue there. And fold that back up. And that will help keep the brim up where it should be. And then I am going to glue my little pink nose on right there. And be extra careful not to get your fingers touching that hot metal point on the glue gun. Okay, now all he needs is a little hanger. And so I am just going to take my crochet cotton, or my thinner cotton that I used to tie him up with, and feed that in my needle, thread my needle. Okay, so then I've got my needle threaded, and I am just going to put it in and out of the hat right about there. And that will make a nice hanger for us. So I'll just unthread my needle and tie a knot where I want it to be. And then I'll go ahead and trim off the ends of my thread. Okay. So we have our Tonttu, or our gnome, whichever you want to call him. He's all done.